What's going on? It's Doug here. I'm a couple minutes late. We got Charlie from Passive Priority. We got the mastermind on. Good to have you on here. I had some contractors in the house here. They were doing a little warranty work, which, my goodness, is such a pain in the ass. It's something that we pointed out when we bought the house. This is new, and we're like, hey, this looks a little funny. We'd love to have this fixed up. And they said, you know what? Maybe that's just going to work itself out. It was like some paint, a bad patch. And we're like, we don't think paint's going to fade, but it was right at the beginning of COVID. So they were kind of pushing back, and we're like, all right, fine. We'll see if it fades out. Maybe we're being a little too particular. Anyway, we weren't. And I'll go on a rant later, but basically we're having the warranty work done. It was a bad patch in the ceiling. So what we have is the whole ceiling in our like great room, as they call it. It's like the living room / kitchen / dining room. It's one large room. The largest contiguous surface of ceiling in the whole house. There was a bad patch. They tried to repaint it. You could just see it. So they had to re-skim the whole thing, which required them to mask off the whole entire everything, ceiling to floor. Wall to wall, everything's masked off. So it's like you can't open cabinets, you can't get to anything. Anyway, the one dude cleaned up. He finished, and he was walking out. We still got some painting to be done. But anyway, I'm late. That's why I'm late. This is just an excuse. It's like I got to class late, and now I'm making an excuse. But it's real. There was a fucking mess in there. So it's all clear now. We have David on and Adrian too. What's on everybody's mind? I am going through dry January right now. So I haven't had a drink in 6 days. Luckily, I'm not measuring by the number of hours. We can measure in days at this point. And I'm sleeping great. I'm sleeping like 8 hours a day. It's fantastic. I am not waking up as much through the night. I woke up at like 6 a.m. without the alarm. And I felt rested the last few days. And even yesterday, I woke up at like 5:30, just wide awake, felt great, and I actually went to work out downstairs instead of, not working out. Love working out first thing in the morning. I used to do it all the time. Like even in college, I would wake up, go down to the, rec center or whatever you call it, the exercise facilities, and I'd work out for a couple hours early in the morning. So pretty awesome to do that. I always feel really good. And then just different periods of time, it's not convenient. So, all right. Anybody else doing dry January? I see Miles said that you're doing it too. You pushed all the beer back to the back of the fridge so you're not tempted. Yeah. Like I put the beer into a cooler in the garage next to the kegerator. So that it's a good deterrent. But my wife and I are both doing dry January, so it's super helpful to just be working together on that. I haven't done dry January in a couple years. So last year when my wife did it, it was very frustrating for her because I would like grab a beer at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and she's not only just still working, but she has to sit and watch me drink a beer. All right. Thanks, crew, for everyone for saying hello. We got Merc, and wow, we got some tough names. We got all of them. I'll just go, if there's multiple names, I'll go with the easier one to say. Buppy, I'm doing good today. And Miles is doing the dry January. Oh, and Merc, never drinker there. I mean, you're operating on a different level. I mean, you're probably able to just focus on something, probably getting excellent sleep. Keep it up. That's the right way to go. And Adrian says detox time after the holidays. And yeah, I think I was starting to cut back a little bit even before that. But yeah, a lot of people do dry January, so it's been good. In fact, I was chatting with my friend Carl, who's been on the podcast before and in this show as well. He he and I are going to do another podcast episode together. Should be pretty fun. And I was like, oh, it'll be boring. We're talking about having a beer together the last time we were planning on doing a podcast, but we're both doing dry January. So it's pretty nice to have some partners going along for the ride. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will give a shout out to Niche Website Builders and their content and shotgun skyscraper campaigns that they could run for you. So what we have here is a little overlay, and they sponsor the Q&A segment. Shubam says, is it good to start a blog with 10 posts? Sure, that's a fine number to start with. That's what I used to say. 20 maybe would be better, and then just continue to keep adding to it. The Mastermind says, nice shirt. This is actually a Eddie Bauer. I end up with a lot of Eddie Bauer stuff because it's super cheap. And we have Charlie in the house there at Passive Priority. So Charlie joined me on a interview several months ago, and he's documenting his stuff over at Passive Priority. And we were just chatting earlier today. And actually, I'm not sure if I have the ability to do it, but Charlie, do you have the ability to join me live? I could send you a link and you can hop in potentially if you'd like. If not, that's okay. It's no big deal. We can catch up later. Buppy says, what's my SEO prediction in 2021? You know what? I'm not much for predictions most of the time. I just don't stay current with a lot of stuff. And predictions are, I don't know. I don't even find them interesting, just generally, because people are guessing, right? People are just guessing. We don't know. And, you pick a side and you may be right or wrong. And it's just not interesting to me. It's only, I don't know. People will get real hard-ons for these predictions though. And especially they do it for any industry or whatever. But like for SEO, it's like, oh, what's Google going to do? And it's probably like the same kind of shit that's been going on for the past few years. Probably just the same. Yeah, probably just the same. So I don't know. Does anyone else have predictions out there? I suspect links will still matter a lot. And this is not a prediction. I'm just stating things that already exist. Content, searcher intent, all that stuff's very important. So I will just riff for a second on a couple ideas that I had recently. So I'm doing dry January. We've got some other folks involved here. I may do like a weekly kind of updates. I am probably going to do a end of month video where it's like a 31 day challenge where I let you know how this went. My wife will join me on such a video. And my thought is potentially to put this on another channel. I have a few ideas for these kinds of challenges. And the interesting thing, I have a decent amount of data from all the videos that I publish, and some of them are just clips of interviews, and they come out every day, right? I probably have 100 videos in the hopper. Some of them are podcast episodes, but basically I could publish every day. And I do see I don't think very many people get notifications for my videos. Sometimes they may surface up as far as a suggested video, but I think the random nature of some of the videos that I publish, it's not really helping my channel. So I thought maybe challenges kind of related to productivity and self-improvement maybe would fit better on their own channel. So I'm toying with that idea. I don't know how that'll turn out. I know one of the challenges is initially, right, if I just do monthly videos, it'll take a long time before I get very many videos. And I wouldn't necessarily be doing it to make money in the short term at all. And I was chatting with my friend Ron the other day, and he was like, well, you probably want to do those weekly updates, at least so you could get some revenue in and get a few more views and some more watch time and that sort of thing. And he's right. I think, from an interest point of view, it will be good to have weekly updates. However, I'm not sure having just the random updates in the middle would fit well with a more highly produced, thought out channel with only 12 videos per year, potentially. I'll probably do other videos too, but anyway, I'm not sure. Anyone have thoughts on that? The cool part is I know with the existing viewers and the other parts of the business, I can bring some people that are interested in that self-improvement kind of topic. Although I'm not a big self-improvement person, but it's more like these 30-day challenges seem interesting to me. And if I do a few of them, I guess it is self-improvement when you look at it, when you take a step back and think about it. But we'll see. But let me know if you have thoughts on another channel, or if there's other YouTubers out there, if you thought about it. And I've toyed with potentially doing a clips channel, but then once I started looking at the data and looked at other people's channels that were clips, I was like, I don't have a big enough audience to warrant it. I probably would only get a few dozen subscribers at best, and then no money could be made from it because not enough people would watch it. The watch time's too low, so you can't run ads. All right. Next question we have. Saeed says, how much time does it take for a website to reach $1,000 as per my experience? It depends on how much you put into it. Time, capital, and all your resources. So it depends. But if I just had to give you like a blanket statement, I would say probably about a year. For a lot of people, it would take a year to hit $1,000. For some people, it'll be 6 months. For some people, it'll be 2 years. So it just depends on so many factors. Usually the amount of effort you put in, the amount of resources you put into the project. But if you just made me answer, I would say probably about a year, something like that for most people. Subham says, is it good to do 301 redirect a quality expired domain to a new domain? I have heard that it works pretty well. So I've heard it works pretty well too. I haven't done that personally in a successful way, like more than once or twice. So I have, now that I'm thinking back, I have gotten a pretty nice domain, redirected it to a site that I was already working on. It wasn't new, but that worked well. And I actually just acquired a site in the niche that I was already working in, and I'm adding content. So I'm able to roughly double the content. Oh, David says, David's on it. He said, you could do the pizza, beer, burgers, beer tour you talked about last time on that channel. Yeah, it's interesting because one thing, I know that affiliate marketing and the niche that this channel is in has plenty of room to grow. I see people that are ahead of me in subscribers. They're ahead of me in just the amount of time and effort that they're putting in. But you get bored doing the same stuff over and over again. And if I have the choice, kind of, David, to your point, I was like, what would be the funnest project? It's funnest, right? Funnest, that's a word, or is it most fun? Funnest sounds like it's wrong, but I think it could be right. You never know. There's no way to find out. All right. One of the projects that would be fun is go around and basically check out breweries and restaurants, or restaurants that have beer, which if they serve pizza or burgers, they probably have beer, and just kind of do it locally in the Colorado area. Maybe eventually, it would be fun is to go to Montana, where there are a bunch of people that I know. And I used to live in Bozeman, and it would be really fun to just hang out with people that are into pizza and burgers and beer, and drink some beer and document it, and have maybe a couple sponsors that pay for it. And then I would publish like 10 10 videos or 6 videos, something like that. It would be pretty fun. It would probably be, I imagine it like diners, drive-ins, and dives, Guy Fieri. Although I wouldn't try to do what he does. How many seasons of that show are out there? It's like 28 or something. I don't know how they divide up the seasons, but the dude, he eats a lot of great food. So a lot of the restaurants are pretty spot on too. All right. So that would be a very fun project, and it would be unrelated. The self-improvement stuff, it's kind of some things that I would want to do. And if I was publishing it on the channel, then potentially it would be forcing accountability on my part, where it's easy for me to just push things off. So a couple of things on my mind. Obviously, I'm all over the place. Most likely what will happen is nothing, because I shouldn't take on too much stuff. I need to sort of like put a bow on some things that I am working on. So, which that'll be a question coming up for Buppy. Before we get too deep into it, I see Leg Oz has a couple questions. Tortoise Cash is on. Will A, what's happening? Thanks everybody for hopping on. And we have D Wakar, what's up? I do my best with my names. And cool, we'll hop to some more questions in a second. And yeah, shout out to Charlie again for saying hello. He has his passive priority channel kicking off, and we may be, we may work on a couple little things together. We were just kind of brainstorming earlier today. We'll see how it goes. Before I get too deep, let me switch cameras here to this one and say, I almost never wear a button-up shirt, but I just walked in and all the delay happened here. So I can go to my normal uniform of a black V-neck here. And I'll give a shout out to one of the sponsors, which is Ezoic and their Site Speed Accelerator. It'll help your site load faster. They guarantee a score of 80 or higher from the Google PageSpeed Insight score, which I guess is redundant. And someone did comment the other day. I get some nasty comments that come through, and they basically said, Doug, stop lying. That tool won't get you an 80 or higher. Go F yourself, basically. And I was like, come on, man, you can't leave a comment like that. I'm going to have to delete that. I got to delete that, right? That's just, it's too negative. If you make a valid point and you bust on one of the sponsors, that's okay. I'd probably talk about it. I'm pretty candid with the sponsorships and, the overall experience. So if something is good or bad, I'll usually talk about it. That's kind of why I don't have a ton of sponsors. But the point is, if you checked out the Site Speed Accelerator, most people end up with a much higher score off the bat without doing anything unusual. If you have any trouble, contact support from Ezoic and they'll help you walk through the issues. Sometimes it's potentially a poor configuration, something like that. There could be some other underlying issue that is unusual. I don't know, but thanks to Ezoic. And if you're looking to speed up your website, you should check out their Site Speed Accelerator, and it makes these live streams possible. So do check them out. Even if you're thinking, hey, my site speed is fast, I'm in good shape, follow the link in the description here. Go to some contact information and just say, hey, thanks for sponsoring Doug. Really appreciate it. That kind of stuff goes a long way. And then, like I said, it helps make these live streams possible and other content that I create. Back to a couple questions here. Oh, and there were several, so I'm going to have to catch up here. And I forgot I have the ability to put the little questions on the... All right. So Leg Oz says, and this is the issue I come up with here. There's just too much stuff on the screen. My head's too large. Okay. Leg says, with SEO changing and Google updates on an almost monthly basis, how relevant do you think your content or the SEO content is from 3 months ago, 1 year ago, or even 4 years ago? That's a great question. Luckily, referring back to the question earlier, where I was talking about me not making predictions, I'm usually so far behind and not groundbreaking that my stuff's pretty safe. I would say 80%. You're asking how relevant is the content from 3 months ago, 1 year ago, 4 years ago? I would say like 80% of it is probably 90% still relevant. One that people will probably question is the keyword golden ratio. And the original video from that was from about 4+ years ago. That's still relevant. That still gets a lot of views, and it's still relevant because it's a very simple concept. It's not making any wild claims. People have asked me, hey, why don't you make it more accurate? You can add in a couple more factors. Why don't you take into account X, Y, or Z? Maybe it's a metric from some tool. Well, if I would have done that, potentially it would throw off what's the right way to say it? It would have been more complicated, number one. Number two, if one of those tools changed or went away, I would have to change everything, thus making the content irrelevant. And number three, it may not make it any more accurate. So just by adding more data, it may make you feel more secure in that it's more accurate, more specific, tighter accuracy. But you're probably not getting that much more out of adding more data, more factors, and making it confusing. So the other part of my content is around writing content, creating content, which is relatively timeless, I think. There's a couple pieces of content that are about like private blog networks and stuff, which probably are still kind of accurate, but I haven't updated any of that in years. I don't practice that stuff anymore. So what are your thoughts on that? And as far as any other SEO content, I can't comment. I won't speculate on other folks. I would say the more specific information is, the more likely it is to be inaccurate in the future. So that could be a little bit off. All right, Buppy says, this is a good name. Good name, by the way. Anything that rhymes with puppy, it's a good one. So what are my plans or goals for 2021? This is a good one. I recorded a podcast actually for tomorrow. I just recorded it earlier today, a little behind on the old publishing schedule. Check it out if you're not a subscriber to the podcast, Doug.show. But I'm doing a few case studies, and I'm covering a few case studies. So number one, I have a site that I'm working on with brand builders, and they're partnering with me. They are adding content. They're adding about 321,000 words over the course of 12 months. It's to a site that I had sort of on the back burner for the past year. I bought it just about 1 year ago. It was earning, I think, about $1,500 to $1,600 per year. So that's roughly like $150 each month, roughly about $150 each month. And this site, I got my hands on it at the very end of 2019. In 2020, I added about 8 articles and cleaned up the content. I roughly followed what I do in my core site growth plan. So I assessed where the site was at. I fixed things on the site, and then I added 8 pieces of content, which brought the grand total to, I think, like 34 or 35 posts. In 2020, it made about $2,600. And obviously, that's a decent increase. Traffic was up by 40% year over year. And I attribute that to improving the content and adding those 8 new articles. I kind of pushed it aside. I got distracted with many other things. A lot of life stuff was happening. So I didn't do as much with it as I hoped. And I'll be adding a lot more content. So in month 1, I'm roughly going to double the amount of content. And then each month after that, I'll be adding about 24,000 words, again, with the help of brand builders. So shout out to brand builders. I don't think there's a link in the description, but you can go to my blog, nichesiteproject.com, head over to the blog area. And then I think that'll be the first most recent post. So that's Buppy. That's number 1. I'll be covering that. There will be a podcast episode, a blog post, and a YouTube video each month coming out on that topic. All right, that'll be a case study update. Number 2, one of my students is wanting to grow her site. So she recently hit 5,000 per month, at least in December, probably a little artificially high from the normal retail season there. And she wants to double her revenue. It's going to be a tall order. You know, obviously the more you make, the harder it is to double or triple or whatever. And I'm going to guide her through doing that. The interesting part is it's not going to be the normal formula, the one that I just mentioned. Add more content, do some promotion, do some backlinks. She's in a very interesting niche. It's a very specific, kind of a lifestyle thing. And I didn't even know it would be a viable niche, but she went after it. And slowly, since roughly October of 2018, she's been growing the site. There's a couple months where it stayed almost level, but it's just been like a slow progression of more money, more traffic. It seems like every single algorithm update has helped her site, which is amazing. So as we are queuing this up, she has probably 20 different ideas on how to grow the site, and I'm pointing at her in a different direction from the normal content and link building. And I'm hoping, right, we're going to meet this Friday. I'm hoping she'll develop her brand more and come up with her own products and take that route. I think for her, it'll be a very, great learning experience. And there's potential, I believe, to grow even more than double, but way more than that, just because if you're selling your own products, it's a complete game changer. Okay, we're very behind here. Okay, Tortoise says, it's most fun because funner isn't a word. I would know because I used to say funner and got made fun of. Good point. Funner. Yeah, most fun. There's a couple of them that it's like you wouldn't think it's the right way to say it, but then it is. I'm not very good with grammar, though. I'm very bad with that. Okay, Passive Priority says, would you build a blog to support your new YouTube channel idea? Probably not. I haven't thought that far, and for the people that are just joining in, the idea is like the 30-day challenge. So I hadn't thought that far. I would probably point them back to dougcunnington.com, which is just like a placeholder blog at this point in time. But I would probably have a blog associated with that portion of it. And that's a good question. Good question, Charlie. So yeah, I would probably aim over to dougcunnington.com. And the thing is, with the 30-day challenges, there is, I think, more potential to grow a channel bigger. So if I'm aiming for YouTube, right, having the 30-day challenge on a separate channel by itself, it totally makes sense to me. And there wouldn't be like all the dead weight of the 1,000 other videos I have, which, I mean, it may not even matter. I may be complicating things more. Maybe the algorithm just figures it out and it pushes the right videos to the right people. But I mean, I think seeing, people like WP Eagle, who's in the chat, Alex, who has like an awesome community and a lot of interaction with the subscribers, where he publishes a video and a lot or most of the subscribers check it out. And I see that with a lot of other channels. I put out so much content. A lot of it is probably not keyword friendly. It's like, you got to just be deep in the weeds to watch all the clips that I publish or the long interviews. And I get it. I mean, I only do that for like one or two creators that I really, really enjoy watching. Good question though, Charlie. All right, next one is from Dan. Which is the best place you'd recommend to look and buy sites? It depends on your price range. So I would probably point you towards Empire Flippers if you're looking at bigger sites, like over $20,000 is a purchase price. And if you are in a lower price range, I would probably look at Motion Invest. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. So Miles says, I don't do affiliate marketing, but I've been applying KGR in much of the niche strategy for a financial advisor. Is there any significant differences in approach between the two? No. And Miles also says, I know your audience is mostly affiliate marketing, but there are more people like me following you. Yeah, there actually are. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of folks in the drop shipping world who are looking to get organic traffic and not have to pay for all their traffic. You'll also there's a lot of SEO and agency type folks as well. I mean, a great package to put together would be a KGR, like content marketing package. You can get traction early, and I mean, most of the time, well, I don't know this to be true. I've heard many times a marketing company may come in and say, don't expect any results for like 6 months or more. And if you could come in and get some quick wins, they're definitely going to be more likely to pay attention to other things that you have, other offerings that you have. So Subum says, have I tried scholarship backlinks? Yeah, I did probably 4 years ago on a small scale. It was fine. Subum, go look it up. You don't want to do it these days. I think Google hit pretty hard on some sites that were doing scholarship backlinks. I believe, what's that one site? Is it 10 Beasts? Was that the site where someone sold it? They built it up. They were making like $20K a month or something huge. They sold it, and then it got penalized in the scholarship one. So I think it could work, but I would stay away from it. All right. And Tortoise says, I like the Site Speed Accelerator, but the mobile speed isn't 80. It's like 60 or 70 though. Contact the support and see if they can help you. One tip that I have, Tortoise Cashflow, is if you should integrate using DNS. You'll get a better experience, a better tool set. You'll be able to basically optimize better because you'll be able to use the CDN and take advantage of some of the caching. And Happy New Year to Alex. Next, we have Mastermind. How long does it take to find a good Amazon niche? Is it normal to be stuck for days in hunting a good Amazon niche? Good question there. So, how long does it take? I think, if you've done this a few times, like Alex and myself, right? Or, Ron, I mentioned him earlier. If you've been doing this for a few years, you probably can pick a niche in an afternoon. You realize that if a lot of products are being sold and you could find a handful of keywords, it's probably going to be a reasonable niche. There's going to be a way to make money. I would guide you to, make sure there's other affiliate programs you can get involved with, especially with digital products. So that's software and courses. And, finding just a good Amazon niche, you could just go look around, see the products that are being sold. And the other big piece of guidance is if you can have a little interest in the topic, you can push your way through something you're not interested in, but it sure does get boring and it sucks after a little while. And if you hit a little bit of a snag, maybe you hit a dead end occasionally and you're frustrated and you're not sure maybe you have a problem with a WordPress theme, for example. Maybe there's a WordPress update and the theme that you're using has some conflict. It's really easy for you to get frustrated and pissed off if you're not into the niche. If you're into the niche, you'll be able to push through. You can see some intrinsic value and interest just personally in the topics, and you're more likely to stick with it. The second part of the question, is it normal to be stuck for days hunting for a niche? Yeah, that's actually really normal. The mastermind, that's one of the common questions. There could be there's whole like video like playlist, and there's courses on like just finding your niche. It's one of the things that people really struggle with because you're afraid you're going to pick the wrong thing, and it is easy to kind of pick the wrong thing or go in the wrong direction. My first niche was something that people don't really buy, they don't create anymore. And sure, you could monetize with display ads, but unfortunately, there's not enough traffic or interest in this very narrow niche that I found that even if I ranked number one for like all the terms, it still wouldn't be very much traffic. It wouldn't earn much money. Michelle, Happy New Year as well. Thanks for hopping on. Tortoise says that you recommend Motion Invest. You had a great experience with them. Cool. I'm an affiliate, although I don't have the affiliate link in the description there, but I am. Always Maxing says Happy New Year. And Michelle mentions you need to remember that there's a lot of writing, so you need to have some interest in your topic. Yeah. All right. Mukesh says how to recover from the Google SEO update. My organics dropped by 40 to 50%. Unfortunately, there's no formula, and all we could tell you these days is improve your content, make sure you have some internal linking, probably try to get some external linking, make sure the content's really good. And if you look at what Google advises you, they will tell you a lot about making sure you have the content in order. This is why I keep saying content. And then the quality of the content, searcher intent, all those buzzwords, but the updates are more complex than they used to be. So there's no like one formula or one tactic to get you back. And in fact, if you do everything right, you still may not see any change over the course of like weeks. Usually it takes, a few months to see much. All right. Sina says, do you have any good affiliate ideas for a fishing page? I'm using Amazon, but I'm looking for something else, not e-commerce stores. Thanks and regards. So number one, I would say, why not e-commerce? It seems like that's the easiest one to add in there. But I'll tell you to others. One, find fishing courses. There's online courses for everything. Find fishing courses and then try to sell those courses. Usually a digital product like a course has a really good affiliate program that pays a high commission. Software. I don't know if there is software for fishing, but look, there might be. I don't know. I suspect there could be some GPS apps that work well with fishing, and you could be an affiliate for those. So digital products are affiliate programs that you really want to try and find. Preston says, I have a big problem with writing content and I don't have the money to outsource. So what do you recommend then, Doug? Okay. Well, what is your problem with writing? Is it the motivation to actually write it? Tell us more. Tell us more about the problem. What is the problem? What do you think the problem is? Is it the quality? Is it hard to just sit down and get the right content out? What's the struggle here? All right. And then Always Maxon says, I bought a good expired domain in the health niche. You published a few posts and it ranked at the 5th page, but after the December update, I vanished from the SERP. Could the cause be EAT, which is expertise, authority, and trust? Yes, but I don't know. I don't know. It could be, I mean, the fact that it's an expired domain. It could be a mismatch of the exact topics, or it could just be the content. I don't know. But it could be EAT. I'm not really sure. Mukesh says, is the make money online niche too competitive to start a new blog? No. I mean, it's pretty competitive. It's very competitive, I would say. The thing is, are you an expert in making money online, or are you just thinking, hey, I want to get into that niche, write content about making money online so that I can make money online? Or are you already proficient and an expert in making money online? The thing is, like almost any niche, like even the most competitive, even if you're going after like something with health in a competitive niche, like say, let's say it's even controversial, right? Let's say it's like a cannabis related CBD health website. New blogs, new podcasts, new platforms pop up all the time, and they start from zero and they come out of nowhere. It happens on YouTube, podcasts, blogs, any platform. Like someone can come out of nowhere, and a lot of those are very competitive and difficult because of the expertise and authority and trust that a site needs to have. But the fact is, you can do it. It just depends on like how much effort you're going to put in, the skill level that you have, and how long you're willing to stick with it. Sometimes it's hard to tell, especially early on, if you're making much traction. So if you're in and you're stubborn and you could push through, then, it's not too competitive. Buppy says, oh, by the way, there are giant sites like WisePick, Gear Hungry, and many more that got hit by the Google update. How can we overcome this while these giant marketers got hit? I don't know. I'm not much of a cheerleader, so I don't think I'm much of a motivator either. I'm not a good coach overall from a motivation standpoint. So how can you overcome it? I mean, the thing is, like, you can find examples where small sites went up, and you could find examples where big sites went down, and vice versa. So if you cherry pick the information that you're looking at, then it'll really sort of provide the narrative of the story that you're trying to hear or that people are trying to tell you. So sure, if big sites got hit, I'm sure you could look and find examples for small sites that got hit, or you could find examples where big sites went up, or you can find examples where small sites went up. I haven't investigated that closely myself, but I suspect that's true, because with data, you could just pick kind of how you present it. All right, GS says, should I index or no index the WordPress category in archive pages? No index. Also, you mentioned the crawl budget, but there's the issue of sort of duplicate content, and potentially your category or other archive pages can rank for the term that you're trying to rank for on the actual blog post. So it's best not to index those archives. Okay, Prussian Prince. The original question was, I have problems writing. What can I do? I can't afford to outsource it. And then the Prussian Prince then says, I guess the quality and some friends, one of them tells me content for now is okay. Other tells me my on page is so bad, and here I lose motivation to write. Okay. So writing is a skill, and you can get better at it if you practice. So you will have to write and then identify the issues. So if one of your friends is telling you the content's okay, cool. And the on-page is so bad, so fix the on-page SEO, identify, like, is the content written well enough? Do you need to have an editor have a pass at it? You can use a tool like what do you call it? Grammarly, which I think I do have a link in the description for that. Grammarly to clean things up, and then maybe have an editor polish it up after that. And then you can watch what Grammarly is advising you. You can, if you do get an editor, you can see what the editor is advising you as well and the changes that they're making, and then you can improve from there. For the on page, it should be fairly straightforward. And that's kind of a checklist situation. So if your friend is telling me or telling you that your on page isn't good, then they should be able to tell you how to fix it, and then you can not do that anymore. So motivation wise, like it sounds like it's sort of triggered by people telling you that your work is kind of sucky and you'll just have to work on it and get better, because basically that's how everything is when you first get started. Okay, and the mastermind says, Alex is a genius on many levels, and he makes it so easy to understand even for beginners, but apart from the competition, product price matters and high ticket items and something saturated. Okay, but yeah, Alex, I guess he's a genius. I didn't think of it, but yeah, I would say, shout out to Alex. Genius. He didn't even self-proclaim it. Other people said it about him. So that's legit, I would say. Next, Warnie. Okay. I'm building an authority site in English. Also, I will build the same site, but in Italian with proper translation and link the two together. Will that be seen as duplicate content? So I haven't done this, but I don't think so. I think that should be fine. That's a smart thing to do. Go check out Neil Patel's site. And I'm pretty sure Neil Patel has, I don't know how many languages, but it's translated into many different languages, and I think you can just get to those all. So I think that's totally fine. I don't think Google is like trying to find duplicate content. I'm sure they could kind of try to do that, but I don't think they're doing that. So I think that's totally fine. I haven't done it personally, and I haven't mentioned it so far, I don't think. Next week, I'm relaunching my course, Multi-Profit Site. So that's the flagship course, the start to finish, like find a niche, do keyword research, competition analysis, takes you through writing content, setting up your site, the theme and plugins that I use, promoting the site, growing and scaling, the full shebang. There are 3 different levels. Again, it's coming out next week, and basically you'll hear more about it. I'll talk about it on the channel. And I didn't launch it again in the fall. Again, I got pretty busy, and then I was publishing a couple smaller courses that are tighter in scope. They're linked in the description. One's on HARO Linkbuilding, and the other is on how to grow your site growth plan, which roughly that site growth plan is what I'm following for, like, a couple of the sites that I'm working on currently. And when I mentioned one of the plans for the year is a case study where I'm taking a site that I purchased about a year ago, added a little content. The cool part is the site grew 40% in traffic from 2019 to 2020, and it was through the stuff that I did with Site Growth Plan. Basically the same exact tactics where you improve existing content, but you start with a gap analysis so you know what to work on and in what order. I improved existing content, added a little bit more, traffic was up 40%, earnings were up by not quite 40%. I think it's more like 30%, but it probably would have been even more if the Amazon commission rate change didn't come through. But overall, it was a great, great formula to grow the site. But next week, Multi-Profit Site is launching. There's going to be some extra bonuses that aren't normally available, so keep an eye out for that. What other questions do we have out there? So yeah, I'm sleeping so much better with dry January. it was a little tough just one day. It was yesterday because we had, the contractors in here doing work. Everything's taped up. You can't get around in the kitchen. It's just a wreck. And I also found that it was harder to like go get water. I have like 5 water bottles in my office right now because I couldn't get to the refrigerator. Everything's closed off, so I couldn't like cook food. Everything was just a pain in the ass. And by the end of the day yesterday, I was like, oh, it would be nice to crack open a cold one. Which brings me to like any of the ideas or tactics to, form a habit like not drinking or dealing with. I mean, I literally was having like a beer or two every single day for the last couple years. So it's a habit, and there's a few things. I'll talk about this in the video when I publish it. But with a habit like that, it's pretty easy to switch it up. And there's a book called The Power of Habit, which is right here, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And there's something called the habit loop, which is pretty powerful once you realize exactly what is happening. So there's a cue, a routine, and a reward. And will that focus up? Cue, routine, reward. And basically, you can have multiple cues, and the routine just kicks in. So for the beer, the routine really was powerful. So what would happen is the cue would trigger me. So there's a few different areas that might cue you. One is the time, so the time of day. One's a location. One's the people that you might be around, and there's a couple others, but those are the 3 main ones that kick in for me. So it hits 4 p.m. It's in my living room area, and it's often with my wife because we're hanging out after work. So those 3 things kick in, and it's like, boom, it's time to get a beer. And then the routine happens. The reward, of course, is the flavor of the beer and then how it makes you feel. So there's a couple things you could do. You can have the same cue, which I can't replace those cues, right? That cue is going to happen, but you could replace it with a different routine and potentially a different reward. So there's a lot of different ways you could do that. We're drinking like fizzy waters, like the flavored waters, or like herbal tea, because I don't want to have caffeine in the evening. So the cue hits, and then we're able to replace it with something else. And also, I mean, I am feeling better, so there's a longer term reward kicking in where I'm sleeping better. So basically, hasn't been too hard. But yesterday I was like, oh, I could go for a beer. One says, I would pay for a course that teaches me or gives me tips on how to file my taxes having multiple affiliate sites, all the financial aspects behind. Yeah, one, that would be a cool course, but I think, I think that I would never do one on that. I think there's like liability issues, but yeah, just go to an accountant, man. And the fact is, having multiple affiliate sites shouldn't really impact your taxes unless you're creating like a different company for each one of your sites. And then that would be something to take a look at. But I mean, I'm no expert, but yeah, I don't know why there would be a difference or any issues with multiple sites unless they're different entities. Yeah. My accountant has no like visibility into the individual sites or projects that I'm working on. No need, as far as I know. And Alex says to get an accountant. And Alex is about to open an alcohol-free beer. And that's interesting. I've heard a little bit more about those, but I guess when I when I peel back, I mean, I'm doing dry January, right? So I'm not going to have alcohol for that reason, but then it's just empty calories, right? What kind of carbs and calories are you getting on the on those alcohol-free beers? Oh yeah, and the mastermind is trying to give more compliments over to Alex about how he's a genius, and yeah, yeah, I think it's cool with some of the case studies that are out there, and I think I'm trying to get into the case study game, although I'm trying to cover it in a different way. Alex puts his case study out there, his case studies in the public eye. And I think it's really cool because like people can go see exactly what's going on. And I think it comes down to like monetization and how Alex and I run our businesses, which I think, I mean, this is obviously it's a deeper, more advanced topic, but I know there's some people out there interested in these kind of topics. So I monetize mostly through my course. I hardly run ads on my YouTube channel. There's a few videos that do have ads, but not many. And I usually just sell my own courses. I make a little bit from sponsors, right? So Ezoic, niche website builders. And I also earn a little bit through affiliate commissions, products. Maybe it's a WordPress theme, maybe it's hosting. And I teach a lot of information, but I also have courses where I teach information where I go maybe more in depth, maybe put things in the right order and strip away a lot of the noise. And Alex, and I don't know exactly what Alex earns money on, but I know that he recommends some WordPress themes and some hosting, and he tries to find like the best hosting to recommend and test many different companies. So he's making obviously like great recommendations because he's putting the time in to find the best products to recommend. But Alex can earn by saying, hey, like use these products, and he can earn money, and he's able to share the sites. I usually don't share my sites because number one, I've had some like major issues with copycats and negative SEO to the point where I've lost like, over 5 figures from those kind of issues. Actually, one of my sites got a manual penalty, which was pretty devastating. Took a lot of time to get over that one and, undo what the negative SEO did. So that's one of the reasons why I don't share my sites and stuff like that. But Alex does, and you should check out his channel. Best Roof Box is a great example of that. And Alex is on here, so hopefully I didn't speak out of turn, but it's cool. I mean, when you look at other, especially on YouTube, super interesting, like people will monetize in various different ways. And generally, I think probably the lowest amount that you can earn is through the AdSense because it's not as customized. I have a pretty modest audience. I have a very small podcast, but I'm able to earn, pretty good money because people buy stuff that listen to the podcast. So, all right. Alex does say that those alcohol-free beers are only 30 calories a can. And I'm saying that like I count my calories, but I have I eat like an animal most of the time. Since they were having the work done in the kitchen, I got some Chick-fil-A. I guess, Alex, you guys don't have Chick-fil-A over there, do you? They're like expanding a ton over here, but they're from the like not too far from my hometown. So, all right, see you, Alex. Take it easy. Leg says, do you have a preferred stock photo site? I don't have a favorite. One that I signed up with initially, I think it was like I Can Stock Photo, something like that. I first created an account with them like years ago, so I've always had like some available credits there. And whenever I re-up, it's like I already have an account there, so I just go there. Saeed says, I'm one of your newest followers. Oh, great. Thanks. Appreciate the support. When am I going to start the next round of training? next week. So you're such a new follower, you missed the announcement from just a minute ago. Next week, it's a multi-profit site. So keep an eye out for that. There should be more information on the channel. I'll talk about it a few times over the next week, so you'll be able to get to it. All right, Alex is heading out. Thanks for hopping in, of course. And I think we're about done here. So we hit the top of the hour. I got a handful of other things to do. I'll give a shout out to two places for myself here. One is my podcast, The Doug Show. I talk about the same stuff, affiliate marketing and SEO, a little productivity. You can go to doug.show. That's the URL. You could also look it up on any of the large podcast platforms. It's on Spotify, iTunes. I think those are the major ones. People listen on some other stuff too. You can listen right on the website if you wanted to. And the other is, if you're not signed up for my email list, you can go to nichesiteproject.com and click the green button, enter your name and email. I'll send you all my templates, a bunch of information. And actually one thing that I have on my to-do list, one thing that I don't have a great deal of motivation on, for the person who was asking earlier about motivation, I need to redo my autoresponder. I slowly put together my autoresponder over the course of, I guess, 7 years at this point. There's some stuff in there that's pretty old. I've updated it over time, but I really need to go back and overhaul the whole damn thing. I need to basically take away all the emails and go back and almost start from scratch. I think at one point I had 40 emails. I didn't write them all at once. It was very slow, and I would send out an email broadcast. I would send people to a blog post that I wrote, and then I would go back and find the ones that performed the best. Once I had a lot of data, I was able to go back and put those into the autoresponder, where I was basically sending people to the best content. Unfortunately, over time, that content either becomes irrelevant, it is not as good, it's out of date, and I need to either fix the content, get rid of it, and essentially clean up the autoresponder. One of the things that is related to that is to run a full audit on my site and just look at every piece of content. Does it get traffic? Is it trying to rank for any keyword? Does anyone even care about this topic anymore? And if the answer is like no traffic, if the answer is no one cares, is this relevant? And the answer is no. Got to get rid of it. There's just no point for the dead weight. And there's enough data out there about content audits and deleting content that is irrelevant. There's a huge amount of data that says it's a really good idea to get rid of stuff that is just dead weight. So I've gone through a few iterations where I've cleaned up a little bit here and there, but I really should go and just get rid of a ton of stuff. Another thing that I've done that is sort of a prerequisite to an autoresponder overhaul is I would change the URL, because I sort of re-architected some pieces of content on my site. So I would maybe have blog posts written, and then I realized, I should organize this into a silo. So I created a WordPress page and then child pages to go underneath it. And then I redirected the original URL of the blog post to the new page or child page, whatever is relevant. The problem is I had internal links using those other original URLs. So not the worst thing in the world, but there's like a redirect chain that happens. So there's just, a few hundred things that are like that, where it's probably not the hardest thing to fix, but it requires a lot of analysis, tight focus. I'll need to make backups of like how I'm changing, because I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to go and fix these like broken URLs, these 301 redirects. I mean, you need to go and fix that everywhere. So I know there's some tools that can help out doing that, but yeah, there's a few things there. Anyway, this is a long way to say, check out the two things, the podcast and sign up for the email list if you're not on. I do these live streams each week. All right. I do these live streams each week, usually at this time, Wednesday. That is 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And Always Maxing says, how important is it to match new content with old content from the expired domain? So I haven't done this a lot. I wouldn't like necessarily match the content, like republish the old content. I would, however, make sure there's originally written content for any of the URLs that have links pointing to them. Those are probably your most powerful pages as far as the link juice is concerned, and you probably should publish something on those specific pages. And if you can, hopefully make that something that you want to rank, that's a very good thing. I don't have a ton of experience working with expired domains other than, taking a site that, for example, is in my niche, maybe not an expired domain, but I literally just bought a site. I'm moving all the content over. I'm redirecting each one of the URLs to their new URL on my current site. And, Adrian put the podcast link up in the chat there, so appreciate that. Doug.show. And if you just search for Doug Cunnington in your favorite podcast player, you will probably find the Doug Show. Have a good day out there. We'll catch you next week.